Hey, fellow tamers and DigiDestined, it's Mike, aka Senaku from Overground, and today we're doing episode 3 of How I Became a DigiDestined. This series is a series where we're talking about fellow content creators and discussing other games that they may have come from, talking about some similarities and some philosophies that they've carried over from those games as well. And today on the channel we have DevsUtopia, and we're going to be discussing Vanguard. So, hey, Devin, introduce yourself. Let everyone know, what you're doing here. How you doing?
Hey, what's up, Tamers? Well, I probably shouldn't do my own intro. My apologies. My name's Dev. You can call me Devin no matter what and everything. I've been playing Vanguard since like 2018. So I've been playing for a good amount and everything. I went to like a regionals in Chicago as well as Canada. I went to, oh my gosh, I can't remember what part of Canada it was. But I got my advanced driver's license just to go up there. So that's why I was like really excited.
I can appreciate that.
And that's how you know I really care about it. But yeah. So I think I'm well versed in Vanguard. Hey,
All right.
that's all I'm saying.
So tell me a little bit about kind of how you got into Digimon. Like, how did you find it as a competitive Vanguard player? What kind of drew you to Digimon in the first place?
So it was just this weird thing of like, so I'm a Pokemon fanboy. Like a lot of my profile pictures are just Pokemon. I tried to go into the realm of Pokemon a lot. But when it came to Vanguard and everything, it's like I keep trying to jump to different games to get a better understanding of either Vanguard and the meta of Vanguard. So I can, there's power and knowledge. Vanguard kept my attention, and then I started seeing that some of the meta was changing. I wasn't understanding a lot of things, and then my friends were, that were Digimon fans, said like, "Hey, yo, we're getting card game for Digimon. Oh, is it actually coming to America?" So I stayed up to it. I stayed looking at leaks, etc. And then I saw the main thing that really drew me in was the memory page, and I was like, "Okay, what's that?"
Yeah.
You know, like that was like the main thing, that main different aspect of Digimon kind of sunk me in. Then I saw my favorite Digimon, Metal Grumon, and then that also, like, you know, it's like favoritism, a different aesthetic, a different, you know, the art was pretty amazing. I still love the art so much. The alternate art of Metal Grumon specifically, still trying to get 4. But if that, you know, if that makes sense, or anything, it's just like one of those things of like the it wasn't even like the game at first. It was just everything around it. I didn't see a lot of Japanese videos of people actually doing the actual card game. I wanted to try to wait, and I printed out proxies of trial decks to try to figure out if I liked it. And then like I printed out 1.0 to figure out if I liked it and everything. And I was just like drawn by the artwork, by the memory gauge mechanic. And I think that's why I kind of stuck with it. And plus, like, you know, Vanguard has drive checks where it's kind of like that luck-based factor, and then you have Digimon with its security checks. I mean, the security, I don't know how to call it, security stack. Yeah. And like, it was like one of that kind of familiar aspect of game. That's like the most familiar thing, where it was just, you know, reveal the security, hope that it's something that can interrupt their turn, a Gaia Force, a Hammer Spark, you know what I'm saying? A flower cannon, and then, you know, either make it where they have to change up their entire strategy, or, you know, either pass their turn, you know, whatever. And that's how like Vanguard was. It's like, you think you guarded enough, but then critical trigger. You think you're winning. You think you have this in the back next turn. Heal trigger, take a damage away. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was like mainly just that. You know, it was just like those like similar aspects, but still made it its own thing. You know.
Okay. So as I've kind of alluded to in other episodes, I was always a huge Digimon fan already, like right out of the gate. Digimon's one of my favorite franchises. It's one of the franchises that I've stuck around with. You mentioned that you said we what 23?
Yeah, I'm 23 years old.
So I'm 30. Put that into your back pocket. So I was 9 years old when Digimon first came out. So I mean,
okay, I got it.
Compared to you, so you're either still a baby, but so yeah, so
I think I was like still like in diapers.
You would have been about 2
somewhere there.
So to put that in perspective, Digimon was literally came out like during my formative years, and I like literally grew up with it. So that's why it kind of means so much to me where I am now. So
Right.
I've been playing Yu-Gi-Oh! In pretty much every single card game that ever comes out competitively to some capacity for the better part of the last like 15, 20 years. So that's kind of been my favorite hobby. So when you take card games and Digimon, my two favorite things, basically, you stick them together. Like there's no way I wasn't going to be in on this. And
Right.
I'm just going to talk briefly about kind of my experience with Vanguard because I played it not super competitively, but I played
Yeah.
it back when it first came out, which I want to say now was like, I don't know, 2012 or so.
Considered premium because now we got V series,
Yeah,
which is considered standard and everything. So you played like the OG
yeah, the
Vanguard.
OG. And then
Yeah.
I had an Amber Dragon deck, if that means anything to you. And the main win condition was my grade 3 was Dragonic Overload the end. I think that's what his name was.
Overlord. Yeah.
Overlord, yeah.
Don't worry. Dragonic Overlord at the end is back in standard too. But he's a problem.
So yeah, so I remember him kind of being my big thing because like in Yu-Gi-Oh, like I love dragons, like I still love Blue Eyes White Dragon to this day. So when I went to
Right.
Vanguard, I was just like, what has dragons? And they're like Kagero, and I was like, nice, that's what I'll play, right? and then
Right. That's all.
and then my local store kind of stopped supporting the game eventually. And yeah, and then I just kind of
Yeah.
got rid of my collection at the time. And I think this is only like set like 3 or 4 at that point, and then I just kind of stopped playing, and then I just kind of forgot about Vanguard, and then I've just kind of recently
Right.
discovered that it's still going, and I actually downloaded Zero to try to be like, do I still know how to play this game? And
Yeah, then you realize that Euro changes
I
everything.
am terrible at Zero. I suck so much. I I I am just I had to like delete that because I was terrible at it, and I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but I'm just like, I swear to God, this is how you play Vanguard, right? And they changed like some mechanics of the game too, so it really kind of messed with me. But yeah, that's kind of that's what I know about Vanguard, which isn't a hell of a lot. But based on what you know, you've obviously played the game a bit more competitively. So I want to talk about like does right now. So we alluded briefly in our little mini conversation before we went live with this that Digimon's kind of experiencing a bit of a stale meta right now, where it's kind of Omnimod or bust. Did Vanguard
Right.
ever, in your experience with it, have a moment in time where there was kind of a stale meta where it's just kind of one deck takes all, and it wasn't kind of very
Yeah.
fun or interactive for everyone else.
It was, oh my gosh. Okay, so there's actually been multiple stale metas, and that's why I'm not really suffering from Omnimod fatigue because I dealt with it.
Hmm.
So there was this deck called, Zinbaku, uh, Dueling Dragons Zinbaku. And what it did was basically say, shut down your entire deck. I get to play. And like that was unheard of in V Series because in V Series it was a new format. We didn't have a lot of stuff that could say no, sit there and let me do everything. It basically like rested a lot of stuff, made it where nothing could like in game become active, stand up,
Hmm.
and you couldn't really do a lot of your skills because you needed to attack to do said skills. So if it said none of your stuff stands back up, none of your stuff can attack, that was like really crippling for a lot of other decks. And it stayed like that for about 2 sets. And 2 sets might not sound like a long time and everything, but when you have all these locals, etc., he goes like forever.
Well, 2 sets is about what,
And
6 months?
I think 4, because there's when I say 2 sets, there's always like a mini booster,
Oh,
but I'm talking
you're
about
right. You're right.
two full
Yeah.
sets.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, there's always like a mini booster in between, but I'm talking about 2 full sets until they said ban or what I think it was restrict. They choice restricted or they outright banned the card,
Okay.
and then the deck finally fell off, and you didn't have to deal with it. You didn't have to worry about it. But like decks were being built around that specific deck. It was limiting deck profile choices, and like we're lucky now ish because it's like we're going through it again because now we have Gurgwit, which got actually an emergency choice restriction because they said, yep, this deck is too good, and they didn't want to deal with it, and people were really vocal about their concerns, and they just emergency choice restricted the deck, and now we don't have to deal with that again. We don't have to have another Zenbaku situation where everybody's playing that deck or not. And then they had an emergency. It's like they kind of evolved to just emergency bans and emergency choice restricts because of that. But but that was because there was like multiple. multiple times where it's just like one deck overall, and you couldn't do anything about it except make your deck a specific way and hope that you go against it and beat it.
Which,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah, which is super
That's,
restrictive from a deck building perspective too, because it feels like it kind of
yeah,
holds you back with the current card pool. Like at least in Digimon right now, going into 1.0 meta specifically, we kind of know what to expect from
right.
the Omnimon decks, but we don't have to build our decks a certain way to prevent it. That we still have a bit more freedom kind of in our deck building in terms of how we choose to kind of approach the metagame, right? Because Omnimon
Yeah, I agree.
doesn't stop you from playing the game. It's just something you need to be very cognizant of when you're going up in that matchup.
That's the main difference. That's what I'm happy about when it comes to, because again, like I can deal with Omnimon because it's like some people still don't really know how to. Because some people are plug and play Omnimon, and some people understand Omnimon.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? And I just feel as if people are just kind of overestimating it or over exaggerating it because they're just really tired of dealing with it. But in reality, you got to go against like a good Omnimon player to understand why you're having such a bad time. You need to understand why you're suffering. Why are you suffering? Why are you getting all your stuff deleted? Oh wait, it's because I keep spamming the board with the same Digimon, or I have too many cards that are the same name. You know what I'm saying? And all that. And I feel like it Omnimon doesn't really even stop everybody from deck building, to be
No,
honest.
that's
It's
normal.
kind of helped people.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think it's kind of helped people, honestly, because I mean, like, you see all these different green deck profiles. Even I changed up my Omnimon list to have Metal Seedramon because I was just like, I need to use Volcanodramon. Blah, blah, blah. We get into that. Oh, I got into that with my friends. I was like, why Volcanodramon? It helped Rookie Rush. I'm like, I haven't seen Rookie Rush. I've seen Omnimon. But you get us. Like,
Yeah,
I feel it. I feel you understand.
and I want to talk about that aspect of teching. So in Digimon specifically, you can tech different colors, and obviously if you tech different options, you're kind of locked into the restriction of needing the same color on board to play. In Vanguard,
Right.
though, are you locked into one specific clan, or can you kind of tech outside clans into the deck as well?
In Vanguard, it's one of this kind of no holds barred. You are playing this one clan. You play every card that was released throughout the game for V Series. Every card that's V Series Kagero, you can use those cards. You can't mix it with X, Y, and Z. And like that's just kind of how the game is run. And it kind of like I would say that's one of the strengths of Vanguard. It's like not one clan. One clan is not supposed to stay in the meta for way too long,
Mhm.
right? So you'll have Kagero dominate one meta, and then the cycle will go next to Royal Paladin, or the cycle go next to Tachikaze or Gold Paladin, et cetera, et cetera. And I feel like that alone was enough for people to be like, okay, my favorite clan is winning and everything. Now I can try to, show my expertise with
Okay.
this clan.
Yeah, yeah.
And like, a lot of people play multiple clans anyway, because no matter what, I always told new players, just like no matter what, the clan that you play will eventually be meta. It might take a month, it might take 2 months, but eventually the clan that you play will be meta.
Mhm. But do you,
That's how I always told new players that.
but do you feel that now that you've had so much time with Digimon, when you go back to Vanguard, do you feel like there's kind of a lack of freedom in your deck building now that you're locked into one specific clan now?
So I with deck building and everything, it's like Vanguard has taught me you make a deck based off of the new card and try to listen to the new card. Don't force the card to do what you want.
Okay.
Don't force the deck to do what you want. Listen to the deck and say, the deck wants to do this. Okay, then we'll do that. And when you fulfill that purpose of I need to do this local strategy, then you can mess with it. But you need to understand why it needs to do that and what's not working. And that's the mindset I came into Digimon. I mess with Omnimon. I tried to force Omnimon to do what I want and tried to force it to be a Metal Gurumon. And I realized that's not happening.
Okay.
And then I said, in 1.0, I kept losing in pro play tournaments a lot. Like that's why I know that it wasn't working. And then I said, okay, let me listen to Omnimod. Omnimod in 1.0 is Turbo Omnimod. I don't run 4 metal. I run 3. I run 4 Plesio. Then I run the turbo options of, you know, my brain, Gorillamon,
Yeah, and Monzemon.
you know what I'm saying, Monzemon.
So,
And when you do that general thing, then you can mess with it.
So that's
You know,
interesting. You say listen to the card. I've never heard someone call it like that. So you're no. But it's cool though. I get the philosophy that you're trying to explain in the sense that once you kind of understand how you get the maximum potential out of a card, then you build the deck around that card. Is that kind of what you're going for?
Yeah, you know, you just gotta listen. Like, you know, I keep saying it like the cards talk to me. But
Well,
like,
if they do,
if
that's up to
Omnimon,
you, man.
yeah, like that's how I went. I was like, yeah, if Omnimon wants to go into Omnimon as fast as possible, then you need to make sure that Omnimon can come onto the board as fast as possible. But after that, after you can complete your goal successfully,
I'm listening, man.
what
I'm
is that?
listening.
So yeah, I got it. He's telling you. He's
All
be
right.
talking like, let me in, play me,
All
like
right.
you
No,
know. What I'm
I
saying?
hear him. I hear him.
It's just like one of those things. Yeah, you got to just like stand back and say the deck wants to do this. I can't force it to do X, Y, and Z because I'll lose.
Okay.
So you know, you just make the deck and then you say, well, this card can be at 2. This card can be at 3. This card can be at 1. Blah blah blah. You can change your numbers around afterwards, but you know what has to stay at 4. You know what has to stay at 3.
Yep.
You know, I tried to make sure to have blue mat, the tamer. I tried to make sure that I was convinced that I needed to have that card in my deck at all
At
times.
one point, yeah.
But then I kept going into tournaments every Saturday and got it stomped. And I was like, Matt just looking at me like, I tried my best. Like, and I'm just like, yeah, Matt's coming out. Like,
No, I 100%
and then, you know,
agree.
I say, what did you get? Yeah. Like, you know, it's just everybody's like, what did you get memory choke? It's like, I'll memory choke back.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'll play it 2 of.
Okay.
I'll digivolve for 2.
That
I'll memory choke back.
that's neat. I like that. I like that imagery of listening to how to unlock a card's potential and kind of building, extrapolating from that in
Okay.
your deck. And I like that. That's kind of the philosophy that you took from Vanguard and translate into Digimon. And I feel like that's something a lot of people watching this, especially, might be able to kind of take from
Yeah.
that, and that might help them with their deck
Because
building in the future.
you mentioned the end. You know, the end is there's a new Dragon Goldblur at the end.
Mm-hmm.
He's still meta. And like he's the same way. He's the exact same way. If you try to mix him in with too many Dragonic Overlords that are different and everything, the deck will crash. But if you mix him with his favorite partner, Dragonic Overlord DX, the cross, you get what I'm saying? You mix him with his favorite partner, boom, Dex works magically. You can end the game fast. But you try to put in Dragonic Overlord, the greats. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You keep trying to force all that stuff. No.
And it's funny you say, favorite partner, because I feel like sometimes the way Bandai's been setting up their sets, they're setting up cards in a way that they want you to play specifically together. Like, okay, like
Yeah.
you mentioned Metal Garurumon, for example. Like that Metal Garurumon obviously works the best with the set one Garurumon and the set one Gabumon because they all do something when they're
Correct.
played, right? So I like how Digimon kind of not necessarily holds your hand, but kind of makes good suggestions to be like, this is how we want you to play the deck type thing,
Yeah.
right? This is the favorite partner that we want you to kind of figure out on your own. So.
Yeah, no, like what's it called? I realized that kind of early because you know, playtesting, printed out stuff at Staples, printed out a lot of paper. I kill trees. I'm a tree killer. Sorry, like, but like you know, it's like in the box you'll see that it's you'll have a boss monster and a supporting attacker. That's how Vanguard was. That's how Digimon is. I don't know if Yu-Gi-Oh or anybody else is the same, but Vanguard taught me there is one card that will pair nicely with this card. You just gotta find it, and it's in the same box, unless they work with older cards and they specifically say it in their text, put me with this. And like it didn't take me that long to figure out, like, because I honestly feel as if Leopardmon and Metal can work good together.
Mhm.
It's just, you got to figure out that I'm still trying to figure it out, but I
Yeah,
digress.
yeah,
Plesio and Omnimon work together.
yeah.
Cheap. Cheap costs, get into Omni. Golden. War Greymon, Phoenixmon, you know what I'm saying? War Greymon, Gallantmon really works together, in my opinion, because they just keep going blowing through security, in my opinion. But I think War Greymon can go with someone else, but I can't remember. I digress. I'm like deck crafting in my head right now by accident. Like,
No,
sorry.
no, no.
Because like, yeah, Zenitsu, name drop or nothing. I'm like, yeah, he actually helped me a lot with just figuring that out. He's like, hey, hear me out. Try put Leopardmon and make it Leopardmon deck. And I was like, okay. And it was just like, I have so many people that's just like, why not this? I'm like, yeah, you're right. Why not? Let me just print out some paper and figure it out.
Yeah, no, I like that.
You know what I'm saying?
So now I kind of want to talk
Yeah.
about the philosophy of a couple mechanics in Vanguard and kind of how I feel they're similar to Digimon, and you can kind of correct me if I'm wrong here. But
Okay.
the damage system, or let's talk about drive checks in general, because
Right.
in Vanguard you do drive checks and you're attacking with your Vanguard, and then your opponent does damage checks as well. Is that correct? Is that
Yes.
still how it goes? Okay. So
Yes.
in Vanguard you need to get to 5 damage to win the game, right? Or is it?
Correct.
Yeah. So it's kind of like
No, I believe it's six.
6.
I
Yeah.
believe it's six.
So it's kind of
I'm not
like a
wrong.
reverse security system in a sense.
Yes.
So
It's like, how do I say it? Like, it's drive checks and damage checks are completely like, it's a game changer. You can change the entire
mhm,
course of the game. And I think that's why I'm so okay with security checks and I'm not as angry, or like I don't get as tilted and everything when I check a Gaia Force
mhm,
and I'm just like, it happens because I dealt with Vanguard for so long where someone I would think I'd be winning, double heal trigger. I would think that I can survive next turn, double crit, you know what I'm saying?
mhm.
And it's like one of those kind of like luck of the draw when moments where you gotta just let it, some games you just can't win them all. Some games are going to be based off luck, but you're going to see that skill outweighs the luck factor as long as you just do your due diligence.
But I want to talk about the luck specifically because, from a philosophical standpoint, drive checks
Mm.
kind of reward you from already being ahead. Whereas damage checks are going to happen regardless. But I feel like because when you check, so for those unfamiliar, and if I'm wrong, correct me. When you perform a drive check, you look at the top card of your deck, and if there's a trigger that you reveal, you implement that trigger immediately. And that could be a number of things. It could be a critical trigger, which means you deal an extra damage to your opponent. It could be a draw trigger, which means you get to draw an extra card, or it could be a heal trigger, which means you remove 1 damage that you currently have on the board and send it to the
Right.
grave or whatever the drop zone equivalent is. So
Yeah.
when you attack with a Vanguard, you get what's called the drive check, and I believe you get when you get to a grade 3, you do the twin drive, so you actually reveal 2 cards, and
Yes.
those cards after they're checked go to your hand.
Yes.
Yeah.
Unless stated otherwise by the card's
Okay.
effect, because you can get more.
So in that respect, every time you attack with your Vanguard, you're putting yourself further ahead, and I feel like that always outweighs like whatever the damage check on your opponent's side is going to be.
Well, it's like one of those kind of things where it's like you can get a drive check, but it's not going to always be.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're going to hope to fix your hand. And a lot of times, a lot of drive checks, at least in my games, is like I'm hoping to get a grade one. I'm hoping to get a grade two. I'm hoping to get a combo piece.
Mhm.
Uh, and then you'll run out of your triggers during all your drive checks and everything. You'll have guard power, but then now they have the information that you don't have X, Y, and Z card in your deck anymore. They can either be more aggressive, more defensive. So it's kind of like this give and take, right?
Mhm.
Where it's like, yes, you got that trigger out, but you kind of hope that you're not getting them every 5 seconds. Yes, you can heal, but you only heal if you are more or the same. So if you're healing and you have 0 damage, that's a waste.
Yeah.
That's a waste heal trigger. You hope to get that. And to call, I mean, like I had multiple like security checks where I was like, I wish that came earlier,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
Vanguard taught me
It-
we'll come whenever we.
Yeah,
not when you want
yeah.
this.
There's no real like sequencing when it comes to security checks. It happens when it happens, and if you're
Yeah,
lucky and it's a good one, it's a good one. But my big takeaway here though is just in Vanguard you're rewarded for attacking, so you always get extra cards into your hand. Whereas in Digimon, the only way to get extra cards in your hand is to play draw cards or to go through the evolutionary lines. And then that's where the next
right.
question I want to tie into is that I want to compare the inheritable and the evolutionary line to the soul mechanic. And I kind of want to get your take on that because that's kind of the biggest similarity I see in terms of that. Because the soul mechanic is you get rewarded for what's under your Vanguard, whereas in Digimon, as we all know, you get inheritables based on how you've decided to build your stack.
Right. What's it called? It's because like there's a lot of different decks that can mess with soul. Like Pale Moon can bring out units from the soul,
Mhm.
put stuff in the soul. There's decks that connect with it a lot, and then there's of course a lot of soul effects that only activate when you during your ride phase. So inheritables, I honestly feel as if inheritables are more. It's like the better version of soul.
Okay.
Because it's like you get so many active effects from it. You don't have to forget about it. You don't have to wait until you're at grade 3 or you're at your boss monster per se. You just simply, you have to remember. Oh, by the way, I'm at 7,000 instead of 6,000 because of Agumon. I'm very Tartarana. And you know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, by the way, my War Greymon is like 15 instead of 11 because of my inheritables and etc. It's like I honestly feel like they do it a lot better
Okay.
than Vanguard because it's like Vanguard, unless the deck is meant to mess with Soul, you're not going to really be looking at it that much. Or unless you have to Soul Blast a specific grade, that's the one thing. Soul is cool, but only cool for the decks that really utilize it and really make it their own. The other decks are just like, hey, do you have a grade 3 in Soul? Cool, you can activate this effect. While Digimon is just like, this effect is always active on your turn as long as you Digivolve up. Like, honestly, I think that's what Digimon does well because it's like I deck myself out because I just ramped too much and I can't get attacks off and everything. But I feel like that's a good way to just balance out the game and make it where you don't have to attack every 5 seconds.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If that makes
Yeah.
sense,
You
yeah.
don't feel.
Like
Yeah.
Vanguard is just like there's no reason not to attack, but Digimon, there's a lot of
And,
reasons not to
and
attack.
that goes back to the whole philosophy of the security versus the drive check is that in Vanguard, you want to attack every turn because it gives you free cards. Whereas in Digimon,
Yeah,
choosing to attack is a strategic move in and of itself because you need to make sure that
yeah,
this Digimon either survives or you don't trip a specific option that could put you behind. So I feel like
yeah.
with Digimon not having that sort of drive check option available built into the game kind of makes attacking the security a much higher thought process, if that makes sense. And it kind of broadens the skill gap a little bit more in terms of that respect.
I believe like okay, so the best way I can explain it is because like a lot of my friends are coming from Vanguard to Digimon, and Digimon made us slow down, like and slow down
Okay.
and not be as aggressive because Vanguard is extremely aggressive.
Yeah.
You need to just do it and get your opponent out there because we don't want you to come back or come, do all this other stuff. And like, I think the really big reason why I'm learning how to play this game and doing a little bit better in tournaments is because I'm actually just saying, hold up, that's red. Okay, hold
Yeah.
up, that's green. Let me stop.
Yeah.
Is that a tight mod? Ah, oh, I'm not attacking. I'm going to get my stuff completely destroyed next turn if
Yeah.
I attack right now. I'm looking at board state and I'm just saying, you know what? Oh, okay, next turn. Like instead of just swing, unless you're
Yeah.
so.
And now touching back to the whole soul thing, how did you feel as a Vanguard player when they introduced the Digiburst mechanic? Because that's kind of
Dude,
like Soul Burst, right?
yo, yes. Soul Blast,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, or Soul Blast, yeah.
Galmon's my my second favorite Digimon, and when I saw Digiburst, I was just like, yes, because I was just like, because all these effects just go off, and I'm like, okay, that reminds me of Jugana Go Velour, the cross, and like his effect of just activating certain effects if this is under you and etc. And Digiburst has like all of these unique ways of like, even if it's just drawing a card, I thought that was still cool. Like when Digiburst is eventually, brought in, we'll have alternate ways to draw. We'll have more board wiping, bringing stuff like Purple will have more ways to bring back stuff from the trash, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And I thought I was extremely excited. And I think you're right because it does tie into just Soul Blast and everything. But like, I already think that Digimon thing does a little bit better when it comes to their version of inheritables and everything. But also having that more control aspect. I'm a really control player in a lot of games, so it's like having that other aspect of you can do all these new gimmicks and here's some new bells and whistles to something that you thought was just not really important.
And
I need to ramp up. Oh wait, now I can activate.
And do you think Digimon would benefit from a card or a mechanic that lets you put a card in your hand, like into your stack as an inheritable?
I think, man, that's a loaded question because it's like, oh my gosh, because I'm thinking about all the possibilities that Blue and Red can do. Like, if that makes sense, you know what I'm saying? I think that would be a double-edged sword.
I agree, but I'm just as a Vanguard player, and I kind of want to see what your thoughts were on that.
You can definitely do a lot more combos and everything. You can be more aggressive, but it depends on how aggressive the game wants to go. If Bandai says, okay, these games are taking too long, we need let them add cards back into their inheritable stack, then that's going to change a lot of when attacking decks. There's going to be a lot more when attacking.
Obviously,
if that does
obviously with the card pool right now, like we're still kind of in the game's infancy, but in the future, if they do introduce that, obviously it would have to be balanced to some degree.
To some degree, I think it might even require you to discard some cards from hand or something, just to make up something. Or I think there has to be a drawback to being so aggressive and everything, because it's like Digimon is kind of like solidified itself in my brain as that big brain energy like card game. So the jokes I've been calling it lately.
No, it's true. It's a lot more complicated than it looks on the surface. It really is.
Oh yeah.
And so now,
I agree.
Yeah, and I want to talk about because briefly again before we started filming was that we talked about the blue deck and how blue's kind of your favorite color. That's the color you gravitate to the most. What was kind of your favorite clan or deck that you gravitated to in Vanguard, and why do you think blue kind of spoke to you as much as it did in Digimon?
Oh yeah, this is a really funny story actually. I did the research. My friends tried to get me into it. Apparently they didn't know that. I did the research. I was like, okay, cool, Link Joker. I go to my local game store, and my soon to be best friend in the world that I didn't even know. He's like, what you doing? I'm trying to get this Link Joker deck. It was a starter deck. He's like, oh no, don't use that. That clan's not out in the NV series. And everybody was looking at me crazy because I was like, yeah, I just want to play Link Joker. And apparently, Link Joker is the most hated clan because it has a lot of control options. It's the equivalent of like blue in Magic, I guess. That's what they've been calling it. Like the blue
like negation
Magic Gathering.
Like
yeah. And apparently like Link Joker players are really hated, and everyone's like, why does he want to play Link Joker? This is a bad omen. Like then Link Joker officially came out, and then I made my debut yeah, people don't like playing against this. And I think that trend kept going because now my friend group was just like, we went together on a few boxes, and I said, I want to play blue because it has Metal Garurumon, and they're like, this is a bad omen. I don't like going against this. It was another one. I was like, oh yeah, I guess I just really like pissing people off. Like, I swear, I'm a nice guy. I just like decks that really control the field and just like board spam or do all this other stuff. I like the bells and whistles of blue and control decks. And then of course, like I said, just Metal Garurumon fan all the way. So it was just like it had my mascot, and it was control or somewhat control, and I was just like, yeah, I gotta get in there. Like I had to. I was like, I went balls to the wall. Like I saved up money, did like Instacart and DoorDash and everything just to get some extra funds to buy like, a lot of boxes.
That's commitment.
Apparently I got the jackpot. Somehow. Everybody's like, you pulled that? And it's like, yeah. I pulled like 5 Omnimods. alternate art, metal, and
Holy
then like
crap! Yeah,
other stuff.
yeah, that's good.
Yeah. I was just like, I'm good. Like I was like, I'm done. Like this is the deck and everything. And then my friends was like, yeah, I don't like going against this. Like it was just, it's like rinse and repeat. So like I guess I just gravitate towards really irritating.
Yeah, well, and that's
That's the
funny
main
because
thing.
I don't consider blue irritating or like upsetting or frustrating in any capacity. If anything, I find blue to
Right.
be a very fair color because it doesn't do anything super aggressively, but instead just lets you kind of draw more and see things a bit more consistently, which is why I like it so much. Because
Right.
especially coming from Yu-Gi-Oh, Yu-Gi-Oh is a game where consistency is key, and in
Yeah.
blue you get to draw, and that kind of what drew me into it the most because it was like drew me in. It's just kind of a you know it's a deck that lets me see more cards more often so I can make more plays. Oh, count me in. Because otherwise, I was just going to play red because I was just like, yay, security attack +1, Omnimod go burst, attack your security. But then I saw blue and I was like, oh,
Right.
and then I saw blue and I was like, oh, this changes everything. So
Yeah.
that's kind of
No,
what drew me to blue personally as well.
so I think it was a lot of playtesting. It was still like a lot of just because my male friends, we're jerks to each other. Like we're full on blown jerks to each other. We always say like, yeah, that's irritating. We won't get really mad or anything.
Mm.
But like that's why I keep saying it's like, oh, this is a bad omen. Like that's the jokes that we always make. When I first built my Metal Gurumon specific deck and everything, it's like, yeah, we should have just offered the blue to the trash can nearby. Like, why did we give it to them? Because apparently I was just doing stuff that they didn't know was possible and I didn't know. I was like, if I swing, if I digivolve into Gurumon and swing, blah, blah, I didn't learn that through videos or anything. We were playing like dang near like 2 months before the actual official release for English, and we didn't look at stuff. We were just deck building, and then we figured out like, oh, everybody does that. It's a good combo, I guess,
Yeah, yeah.
and everything. I was just like, yeah, it was like we were learning together, and I just said, on a good day, my field is swarmed. I don't know where to put all my Digimon, and the next turn, if you don't get rid of all of it, and that's like my friends were dealing with when they were like feeling me when I was in my flow. That's what my mainly pertaining to. It's like blue is like not, I figured out that like blue isn't really more control as it is board spam right now, in my opinion.
Yeah,
And
depending on
that's
how you're
why I was
building.
just like, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, if you make a really specific like metal deck, metal Gurumon deck and everything, to be honest, it's like you can spam the board as fast as possible, as long as you don't crash into something bigger. But like I think blue is in that like kind of safety spot of I think blue and red is in that safety spot of you can pick this up, you can learn it, and you can just go from there.
Yeah.
And I think that's also why I had good luck with it because it was kind of like that stepping stone of this is how you play Digimon, keep going. Like, what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's
Not too difficult,
and
not too complicated.
I mentioned this in the last interview I did with Gyroshan, and we are talking about how 1.0 format is both kind of a blessing and a curse, in the sense that it's such a limited card pool to start out with, but it's such a good
Yeah.
starting point that it feels like from November until now, we've all kind of been experiencing one long extended tutorial. So as soon as 1.5
Yeah.
actually hits, we're all going to be like so like
But
mastered at this point, right?
yes. Oh my gosh. This is mirroring one of the conversations I had with my friends that are we strictly kind of play 1.5 because we're trying to take a break and they're Omnimon fatigued. I don't want to
Mhm.
stop them and everything. But I was telling them this is like some of y'all need to play 1.0 because some of you guys are blessed by Shine that you don't understand the struggles of
Yeah,
1.0,
exactly.
yo,
Yeah.
whatever, this, that, and the other. And it's like one of those things that's like you're not trying to be addicted or anything, but it's like you learn how to play the game. If you jump straight to 1.5, you're going to be spoiled.
Mhm.
If you stay at 1.0, figure out why it's working and everything. I've made like multiple posts online about like, the best thing about deck building is figuring out why it doesn't work and getting your butt kicked enough to figure out and know why it doesn't work. And I think that's been my like entire 1.0 experience of just let's try to do this. No, smack. Okay, all right. Let's try to mess with the Digivolution sources more and more, and make Omnimon deck do this.
Yeah.
No, smack. Like, And it's just like, okay, all right, how about this? And then like, oh, finally, third place. Cool. Like,
Yeah, no. 1.0,
just like one of those things.
yeah, 1.0, despite how limited it is, I feel it's a good testament for kind of shaping you as a player and kind of giving you a good
Yeah.
what's the word I'm looking for? I guess boot camp for Digimon as a whole.
Yeah, no, it can really just simply, it can separate the people who are either, impatient from the people who are just like, okay, I understand.
Yeah.
I understand what's going on. I understand the game state and everything. There's a lot of people online that gets mad about it. I'm just like, well, if you just wait, you got to have patience. Yes, yes, we have more bad news that has been delayed. COVID. Oh well. But it's like you need it. You need that initial step. I know it might be seeming longer now, but you actually just kind of need to just deal with it.
Yeah.
If you really like this game, you have to stick with it and you have to experience the giant shift,
Yeah.
in the meta,
Exactly. Yeah.
in my opinion,
And going
and
from
feel happy about
yeah, and going from 1.0 to 1.5 is going to be a shift we're all kind of going through together. But I feel like
it. Yeah,
at the end of it, because of all the time and energy that we've put into 1.0, we're going to go into 1.5 all as better players, definitely.
yeah. Especially the people who keep trying,
Hmm.
to top, keep trying to enter tournaments, keep trying to stay with it. You know what I'm saying? Entering almost every other weekend or every weekend. Dang near me, almost every weekend. I was getting to the point, I was just like, you will learn. It will take a little bit, but you will learn. Like Michigan can't play locally. All the card shops do not allow it and everything. So webcams is all my only alternative other than just meeting people at my place and at their place.
Yeah.
Being
Yeah.
careful with the mask and
And
everything.
that's
So
pretty much the
it's
same for
like,
us in Canada too
yeah,
right now. So
right. So this is our only outlet. Just you just got to go with the flow.
yeah.
You just can't just stress too much about it. And I think I've gotten a little bit better with that thanks to Vanguard, to be honest. I'm going back to Vanguard, but it's like Vanguard was that I used to play only like 2 clans, and then I would just be patiently say, eventually my time will come where it'll be a little bit easier for me to play this game and get a little bit better at, doing X, Y, and Z or blah blah blah. I'll get an upgrade to my this, that, and there. No, the new deck architect will come. And I think Vanguard kind of instilled in me of you either try to play something else to avoid the fatigue, or you just be patient
Mhm.
and just wait.
Yeah, no, I can agree with that.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
So the last thing I want to talk about here is that you mentioned that your absolute favorite thing about Digimon was the memory gauge. And
yeah,
in Vanguard, there's no real like resource system. It's just kind of like because like in Vanguard, there's only one type of card. It's just units, right? You just
yeah.
yeah. So every
The only like comparable is like Soul, but
yeah. So
you know,
with that in mind, what do you like so much about the memory system comparative to Vanguard's kind of I guess basic free for all mechanics in some respects?
because in the Vanguard there's not like a lot of reaction.
Yeah.
You can't interrupt my turn. There's only a few cards in V series that allows you to really interrupt my turn and stop me from doing what I'm doing. With the memory gate system, it allows me to use my math brain and say, look at my hand and count the evolution cost to whatever I need it to be.
Hmm.
I'm not planning on attacking or whatever. Of course, I plan on attack, do it before I commit to something or evolve and see what happens, et cetera, or gain more memory because of all this other secondary effects. Memory gauge is that like key. I don't know, it's like that really big thing of you are rewarded for either making optimal plays. If they have a tamer out, put them at 3.
Hmm.
Don't put them above or higher. If you have a gravity crush, and I say at the end of your turn, they gain 2, put them at 1. At the end, they gain 2, put them at 3. Now their tamer doesn't get them any higher. It's those kind of cool, unique ways of messing with the memory gauge, making it where your play is most optimal as ever been. It feels so rewarding.
Hmm.
And with Vulcan's Hammer Spark, Vulcan's Hammer, you can just interrupt someone's turn. Did you evo too much, and then now you're trying to attack my security? My turn.
Yeah.
Like my turn now. You wasted. You only got like probably 1 attack in or 2. and now I get to try to react, get rid of your stuff so I can survive my following turn. Try to go into Omnimod or whatever. Just like try to board wipe. This ain't nothing. It's like the best form of reaction when all of these different factors can just alter the course of the game and just change what you do.
Yeah.
And I remember like against Gyroshan, my hand was terrible one game, and I just Zudomon for 7, put him at 7 first turn, and he said, I actually have too much memory. I don't know how to get rid of it all.
Yeah.
And I was like, yes.
Yeah, there's some times where it's really an awkward situation, but I agree with you. I absolutely love the memory gauge because, like you said, Vanguard doesn't have a lot of interaction, and for all intents and purposes, neither does
Right.
Digimon. But Digimon has kind of like this weird passive interaction in the sense that you're not necessarily doing something during your opponent's turn, but your turn allows you to control your opponent's turn. And I always thought that was really cool. And similarly, your security stack and your opponent's security stack are also kind of passive forms of interaction because they can also control the pace of the turn just by the sheer kind of mystery of what it's going to flip, right? And that's why I like those kind of big brain, like you said, plays that you kind of have to put towards when you're thinking about making any play in Digimon.
Oh yeah, and like I think it's a really cool form of reaction because you see a lot of good combos off of like lucky security stack. Because I went against my friend. We were just playing around, and he was using this green deck. I was just using Blue Omni because he said he wanted to practice against Blue Omni. I hit a flower cannon, rested all my stuff, and I tried to pass my turn. I get him as little as possible. Didn't get like 2. Then he said, "Okay, Puppet Mine," and I'm like, like wait a minute, and like that actually helped him secure the game because it's like he just made sure that no one could stand back up for another turn. I went in, and he just like rested the other new guy that came out and said like, yeah, I need to beat over stuff now. Like,
yeah, and even
it was different.
Even with like the 9 he gave you, it's like, what are you gonna do, right? Everything's already tapped. Everything else you play isn't going to go anywhere. So there are certain situations, like especially said with the Zudomon, where like giving your opponent too much memory kind of puts them in a weird position because they kind of like overthink their position and they're just like, oh shit, how do I spend this optimally, right? I've given someone 8 memory off of like Volcanic Dramon, and then literally they've gone to their turn and they literally just passed. They didn't make a single play and they put me to 3 because they could not use that memory optimally. So the memory gauge is this cool, weird kind of it's a cool resource mechanic. I can't really describe it right now because we've kind of gone over it so much in length and so many other videos that I've talked about it. But yeah, I really like the philosophy of the memory gauge, and I really like how it makes you think.
Yeah, and then you have the idea of memory choking, and you need to understand how to do it and how to do it with your deck, and just make sure that you know how to do it with your deck and how to react to it. It's like the memory choking becomes an entire different strategy by itself. And if you're a competitive player, you need to learn how to do it with every deck you play. And you need to know how to put someone at 3, how to put someone at 1, how to, and it makes the difference. When I go against purple, I'm not giving them 2 memory. If I can stop it, I'm never giving purple Pokemon 2 memory. I'm never doing it,
and
so I'm over here thinking
with experience is understanding what each matchup can do with whatever amount of memory you actually give them, right? So
and it's just, you just gotta play, and like, you won't get this knowledge if you don't play 1.0 and just skip over 20. And that's what I've been trying to tell my new friends. Because you won't, you'll be too blessed by Inheritable or Saris. Don't start off Sarismon. Sarismon says, "You memory choke me? Cool. I'm not gonna use any memory." What?
Yeah, that is like.
Oh, I love green.
Hidden potential was a mistake. I'll say that.
I don't know if we need ban lists or not, but let's figure it out when 1.5 comes. Oh yeah.
All right. Well,
let's figure it out.
I think that wraps up the conversation for now. Did you have any questions for me?
Okay, so what are you building in 1.5? You need to tell me.
What am I building? Okay.
What is your main deck that you're going to build?
I'm on the Shine train, like 100%. That's my main go-to. That's what I'm hoping to get out of my boxes. Outside of Shine, my next like super hype deck is Imperial Digimon. And then other than that, Let's see. There's like so much I want to build. Craniumon.
And that's the question. That's
Yeah.
all I need.
Like okay, honestly, like I built
Yeah,
the entire like rainbow, but Shine and Imperial
right.
Dramon are kind of like where my where my brain keeps taking me, and that's kind of where my money is right now.
I always ask that question to every player that I see, every new player that's getting into the game. What are you trying to build? What are you trying to build next set? Because it's so
Oh,
important.
and Ultra S,
Because
obviously.
that's how you show the love. Yeah, Alter S too. Blitz. Oh, I love Blitz so
Yeah.
much. Blitz Greymon. But yeah, no, I always ask that question because that's the most important one to ask. Like that's how you know that you love.
Hmm.
When you can say, I want to build this. Actually, I want to build this.
So funny enough,
You can make a laundry
yeah,
list.
when you mentioned staples, the
Mm-hmm.
first proxy decks I ever made were Shine and Imperial Dramon.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the time we didn't know what we
Nice.
were getting in 1.0, so I just kind of built what I thought was the coolest
Mm-hmm.
out of the gate with the card pool that was currently available in Japan, and then
Yeah.
found out that we weren't getting that in 1.0. So 1.0 kind of set me on this path of having to start from scratch, right, and build these other decks and kind of learn how to
Right.
build other decks. So that's why I'm thankful. I'm thankful that they were held, that these decks that I was super excited for were held back, because now I've taken the time to learn the game at a much more fundamental level going into these decks. So these proxy decks that I
Yeah.
built now, I actually realize how crap they actually are based on what I know now
The card pool. Yeah.
yes, just what I know now, like just in theory wise and gameplay wise, based on playing all the 1.0 that I have.
Yeah. No. Like I used my Imperial. I made a Imperial Dramon deck proxied up, and I filled it with you know jammers and everything. And I was like, I can't get into the Imperial Dramon fast enough. And I was like, oh wait, 1.0 taught me turbo it out, Elecmon, Gorillamon, you know what I'm saying, Monzemon, you know what I'm saying. Sometimes you got to do it.
Yeah.
So I'm messing with my deck now. I'm like, I now because of 1.0, I know that I need a way to get to Imperial Dramon as fast and as memory efficient as possible.
Hmm.
And something I wouldn't know if I wasn't entering left and right,
Yeah.
playing 1.0. You
Exactly.
know what I'm saying? I completely agree.
All right, so I'm gonna give you a chance here. If you want to shout out your channel, gonna give everyone a rundown of who you are.
Scott. I'm Dev from DevsUtopia. Just trying to get my intro by habit now and everything. I'm almost at, I'm actually really close to 100. I'm like 84 subscribers right now. So if you want to help me out, I mainly do Vanguard, but I've been shifting more to my Digimon grind because of all the webcam tournaments available. Plus, I live in Michigan. Can't do any more locals, and regionals aren't really a thing anymore. And I play a lot of blue, but I have a lot of good friends that play different colors. So I'm hoping to bring out more and more different, deck profiles to just help everybody get into the game. I try to make sure that every video has like a combo little part section, so I can at least tell you like some optimal plays or some good ideas to consider when you have a good hand or when you have a decent hand at least. And I'm hoping to bring another series. Actually, I'm about to team up with a few other YouTubers and try to make a road deck only series.
Nice.
I'm working on that right
Oh,
now.
I want in on that.
Yeah, well, definitely, dude. I need more people. It's called. The only rule is no turbo red, no turbo blue Omni, and no Piedmon toolbox. That's the only rule. You got to abide by it.
I can dig it.
You can have Omni. It's just I better not see the entire this entire turbo line though. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm currently working on that right now. Just scheduling is a big thing. Trying to get that out to people so you guys can enjoy something that just isn't Omnimon. So please look out for that. DevsUtopia. I'm on YouTube. I'm on Twitter. I like seeing pulls. So whenever you do get boxes, send me pictures.
Yeah,
I love seeing shiny cards.
and I'll be leaving links to your
Oh,
channel and everything in the description for this video as well. So yeah, everyone, this is Mike, aka Sinaku from Overground. This has been episode 3 of how I became rather a DigiDestined, and this is DevsUtopia talking about his journey from Vanguard. So if you guys like this video, please make sure to comment and like and subscribe and all that jazz that you normally do on YouTube. And if you didn't like it, let me know anyway. I love having engagements in the comments with you guys. Love hearing your stories, and I love hearing what you think about what the content is that we're making over here. I'm just tripping over my words right now, but that's fine. Either way,
perfect.
it's the end of the video. Hope you
Perfect.
guys enjoy. See you guys later.